The most famous airplane on the planet has a secret hole in its nose. And for decades, that hole has been the answer to a question nobody could ever quite get the president to actually need. It was the ultimate insurance policy. It was basically the circle the globe forever button. And the new Air Force One, yeah, they're deleting it on purpose. And honestly, it might be the most sensible thing the government's done in years, which I know it's a pretty low bar, but it's basically a speed bump. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. So here's the deal. The current Air Force One, the one you picture, the big blue and white 747, the one that we have known for a while, that's called VC-25A. The new one, the red, white, and blue one, is VC-25B. And most importantly for today, tucked right up there on the nose is an aerial refueling receptacle. It's a little door that opens up so a flying gas station can pull up behind it and top it off mid-flight. Unrefueled, these jets can fly almost 8,000 miles. But with in-flight refueling, they can circle the globe. That's the legend. Unlimited range. The president can stay in the sky indefinitely while the world burns below. Sounds incredibly cool. Sounds, dare I say, totally fetch. But here's the problem. The new Air Force One, the VC-25B, built off the bigger 747-8, is getting built without it. Because unlike the current fleet, the new one will not be capable of refueling in flight as a cost-saving measure. So, two questions. Why did they drop it? And this is the fun one. How often did they actually use the thing on the old planes? Because if you're paying for a Ferrari and it's been sitting in the garage since the Clinton administration, that changes the conversation a little bit. Let's start with how often it got used, because the answer is genuinely hilarious. The answer is essentially never. The plane has the ability to refuel in midair, but it rarely ever uses the feature and is even said to have never been done so with a president on board. Not once, ever. Decades of this capability, billions of dollars in engineering, and it has never been used out of necessity with the actual commander-in-chief sitting in the back in his comfy little chair. Now you might be thinking, okay, but surely 9/11, right? What did I just say? The one day you'd think you'd want the president to stay airborne forever? Presidents have never used the capability in flight. Not even former President George W. Bush, whose aircraft loitered in the air for 8 hours after the 9/11 attacks. 8 hours circling, the single most justified scenario in the history of the feature, and they still didn't use it. They just landed and gassed it up like the rest of us peasants. So who's actually been aboard a plane while it sucked gas out of the sky? Jimmy Carter is reportedly the only president to be aboard an aircraft during mid-air refueling, and that was in 1980 on the E-4B Doomsday plane as a demonstration. It was a demonstration. So even the one time it happened with the president in the building, it was basically a tech demo. It was the guy at Best Buy going, and watch this, that's it. That's the whole resume of this feature. Now, to be fair, the pilots do practice it. The crews regularly practice aerial refueling to stay proficient. But those flights are conducted without the president on board. So the capability gets exercised constantly, just never for its actual stated purpose. It's like owning a fire extinguisher you take to the range every weekend, but you never once pointed it at a fire. So why has the president never used it? Here's where the science kicks in, and it's actually pretty interesting. Picture two enormous aircraft, a 747 the size of an apartment building, and a tanker flying just a few feet apart at hundreds of miles an hour, while one extends a rigid metal arm called a boom into a hole on the other one's nose. If that doesn't sound romantic, that's because it's not. It's kind of terrifying, actually. Aerial refueling is a complex and dangerous maneuver, even more so for an aircraft as large as a Boeing 747. The turbulence and steep climb and descent patterns are notoriously uncomfortable, often causing nausea even for the most seasoned personnel. So think about the math from a president's point of view. On one side, a tiny theoretical benefit you literally never needed because the plane already flies 8,000 plus miles on a tank. And on the other side, deliberately rendezvousing two giant jets inches apart in a maneuver that makes trained military men throw up. Why on earth would you do that with the president strapped in the back losing his lunch? You wouldn't. You'd land at a secure base, fill her up, grab a coffee and go, which is exactly what they do every single time. So that's the receptacle's whole life story. Wildly expensive, technically magnificent, basically a museum piece bolted to the nose of the most important plane in the world. Which brings us to the why. Why drop it from the new one? Well, two reasons. First, money. Shocking, I know. For a jet this size, adding a nose-mounted fueling port and all the interior piping is an enormous engineering achievement that requires intricate structural strengthening and weight and balance changes. That's not a gas cap, that's plumbing a whole second fuel system through the bones of the airplane. It's a massive, pricey job to install a feature with the usage record of a treadmill in January. Second, the new plane just doesn't need it as badly. The decision reflects the significant increased range of the 747-8 platform and the fact that mid-air refueling is almost never used on the current fleet. The new jet flies even farther on its own. The VC-25B will have an unrefueled range of about 8,900 miles, roughly 1,100 miles farther than the old one. Now, I will give you the other side because there is one, and some serious people are not happy about this. The decision to omit the capability was made by the White House, not the Air Force. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Joseph Dunford, told the Senate it was a fiscal decision and that it would certainly be a limiting factor, so they have to plan accordingly. Even some Republicans on Capitol Hill were reportedly shocked the capability was being cut. The worry is the worst case scenario, a genuine doomsday nuclear exchange situation where the president needs to stay airborne not for 8 hours, but for as long as humanly possible. In that case, the range still runs out eventually, even at 8,900 miles. So the plan is that in a serious nuclear scenario, the president gets transferred to the E-4B Night Watch, which still has full aerial refueling capability. So the capability isn't really gone, it just moved next door. The president's main ride drops the feature, and if the apocalypse does show up, they hop over to the plane that kept it, which, when you say it out loud, is a perfectly reasonable division of labor. Let the survivable flying bunker be the survivable flying bunker, and let the president's plane just be a really, really nice plane that gets him there and back. So here's where I land on this thing, pun intended. We spent decades and a fortune on a globe-circling superpower that the president has functionally never once pushed the button on. Not on a normal Tuesday, not even on the single worst day in modern American history. When it came time to build the new one, somebody finally looked at the spreadsheet, looked at the usage log of exactly 0 and said, yeah, let's not do this. Honestly, hats off to them because it's a rare case of the government noticing it was paying for the deluxe car wash and only ever using the rinse. All right, were you surprised it's never actually been used with a president on board? And second, the bigger one, is cutting it a smart cost-saving move, or is it exactly the kind of corner that you would never cut on one plane that has to survive the end of the world? I'm curious. Peter Von Panda, out.